Yeah. I'm gonna let some people in that are in the waiting room, by the way.
Yes,
Um,
we're just yapping along here.
yeah, but to follow up on that point, I think yeah, because I actually just saw a video from. I mean, I didn't really saw it, so maybe it was a clickbaity headline that Solutions 8, the agency from Kasim and John,
Yesterday that they're pivoting their whole business.
yeah, that they're bleeding clients. So like
Yeah, yeah.
he
He's,
said something like that, which was interesting.
so for the last 6 months or so, I think he said they were losing 40% of their clients.
Really,
Yeah.
wow, that's big.
But I think he made it out more dramatic as it actually is. So I mean, so I'm not debating the fact that maybe they lost 40% of their clients. Um, but he said that many of them declared bankruptcy, so that's the reason
Mm,
I lost them. And then the other reason was that they, as a Google specialized agency in Google Ads, they couldn't deliver on the other parts that impacted the client's business, so now they're going like full service, even though they said all these years that they were never going to go full service, and it was a better idea to niche down and stuff like that. Yeah,
mm,
that was interesting.
yeah.
I saw that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So for everyone that joined us, welcome to the Google Ads Hangout. Every Friday afternoon, Boris and I are here to answer any questions you might have. And so if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. It can be about Google Ads specifically or a broader topic like digital marketing, business in general, freelancing or entrepreneurship, whatever you have on your mind, drop it in the chat and we'll be more than happy to um, discuss. And Tazo just said John Moran leaving for tier 11 might have something to do with it.
We don't know. I mean, he didn't actively manage all of their like 5 bazillion clients, right? Did he? He set the
Uh,
strategy, told people what to do.
they had, if I'm not mistaken, like 200 clients or something like that, 200 to 250 clients. And I know he took on a massive portion of their biggest clients. He was the strategist. Because actually, I don't think they had that many strategists in place. I,
Okay.
I, I think it's like John, Caden, Osama, and then a couple of other guys. But I don't like the major portion of their people was, I think, like just people actively managing the accounts. And then he oversaw a lot of them.
Okay.
I once tried to book something in his calendar. I thought my calendar was full. Like, that's the craziest calendar I ever saw.
Okay.
Yeah. While we're waiting for any questions, anything you want to share from like your week, any updates, something cool you saw, something interesting.
No, I mean the coolest thing I saw this week was, I mean, I told you that I took on a consulting client, which is a big agency group in Germany. So this is the funniest thing actually that happened this week. I used to work in Switzerland for a photo finishing company.
Mhm.
They were the market leader in Switzerland, like with 95% brand recall. So every household in Switzerland actually has one or more products in the bookshelf or on the wall or something. So I did that for 5
Okay.
years, and I oversaw all their Google Ads accounts for all of Europe. And so the first client that I'm getting assigned to as part of the consulting contract with the agency is the market leader in Germany. So that's the very company I butted heads with for like 5 years, and try to compete for the top spots on the best keywords and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that was an instant win because I know that industry like the back of my hand. So yeah, I already able to deliver some very good insights and hints for the guys there on how to go about, because actually they're pitching. They're going into a pitch. Yeah.
Got it.
We'll see how that goes.
Interesting. So they ask for your advice for their pitch, or they ask for your advice for already an account they had, and they're also pitched.
So they asked for my advice for that client.
Mhm.
Actually, so it appears to me that they have an NDA in place, so they can't
Mhm.
mention the client name to me.
Mhm.
Know who it. I know the client. There's no like. It's just 100% that one client. I just know it.
Yep.
That's how that went.
Got it.
Hey, I see
Uh,
here. welcome.
Sorry?
I see Tiffany has entered the call today.
Yes. Yes, I saw it too.
Yes.
Yes, love it. So yeah, just guys, I know it's always tough to get the first question. Like every week, it's the first question is waiting a couple of minutes, and then just after the first question, bunch of questions uh, they come in. So don't be scared to pose your question, I would say. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, mine is just bonkers. Just maybe you do something on topic.
We're starting to get a reputation for going off topic. So
Me, I guess.
I actually had a question on LinkedIn in my chat this week, which I thought was interesting. So I had someone that said like, okay, we've been running our Google Ads account in-house for a couple of times for quite a while. So, and we are very shopping heavy. So it's an e-commerce company. And they said, yeah, we have a segmentation in place based on the margins on our products. And now we're hearing a lot about POAS. What's the difference? And like, do you recommend like us moving to POAS? Do you think what we're doing is fine? Like, and yeah, would love to know your thoughts on it.
Okay, so where I think the main difference is, whereas with their current structure, divided on the margins, with POAS, you're reacting to the actual performance that you see in the account. So that might be something completely different. So if you imagine you have like easiest case, you have two shopping campaigns. Let's just talk PMAX for a second, right? You got two PMAXs and you have one with your high margin products, and then you have one with the low margin products, and the ones with the low margin products have probably a little less budget, and they're bidding differently. Then you'll still run into the same issue with your high margin products. So those are presumably the ones you're trying to sell more of. That like 10-20% of your products are getting the lion's share of the clicks and the conversions, and everything else is sort of laying dormant in the account. So that's where we're talking POAS, we're not talking bucketing, right?
No. So really they are bucketing based on margins, as you discussed.
Got that. Okay.
And their question was like, we've been hearing a lot about POAS, and a couple of external consultants have mentioned it to us. Should we like should we move to a model based on POAS, or is it good as we are doing right now? And like, what's your take on it? That was their question to me, basically.
I mean, if it's always good what they're doing right now, if they land at their desired performance. So if things smoothly, then I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So that's my condensed answer. Was realize I was yapping and going somewhere that didn't really make sense. But yeah, if they're satisfied, then I wouldn't touch it. If they're not satisfied, then there's different ways to skin the cat, and one would be like the product bucketing scripts, basically. So you look at which products don't get any traction, and you put them into their separate campaigns.
Yeah.
Do that with the script and the supplemental feed that you put into Merchant Center. And then I don't know if POAS or like moving to a POAS strategy would necessarily change things, because that sort of might end up being very similar to the thing that you're doing right now with the margins.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think one caveat that I made to them, one side note that I made to them is like, it also very much depends on one, how often do you see that people that click a product buy something else? Because then if people click on something and then buy something with a lower or higher margin, POAS might give you better performance just because of the fact that the conversion value that is pushed through is based on the gross profit and not on and it takes into account the margin of the product that was bought and not the margin of the product that is how it's segmented. So if you see a big that's what I told them. It's like, if you see a big difference between like, okay, people click on one product and then they buy something else, it might be worth looking into it. And secondly, that if people click on a product and then buy a bunch of items.
I guess, to be fair, I mean, that's not uncommon, like seeing the click going to one product and then people buy something completely different, right? So I mean,
Absolutely.
that's always been one of the pitfalls, like when analyzing shopping performance. And if you look at if you sit and the associated revenue, then that's not necessarily what's being reflected in the backend. So that order could well be something completely different. Person clicked on basketball shoe, person bought baseball bat, whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. No, 100%. Or person clicks on basketball shoe, but buys shoes and socks and shorts and a t-shirt and
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Mhm. So that was the one thing, but I was wondering about your thoughts on it.
Mhm.
But I think we're quite aligned here. Tazos posed a question in the chat. He says, "How would you guys approach a PMAX campaign that overspends on search and not spending much on the listing groups and shopping?"
First question is that necessarily a bad thing?
Yeah, Tazos, is it when you mean overspend? Do you mean you see a lot of spend go there and there's not a lot of result, or what do you mean by overspending? Can you give us some context in the chat? So while we're waiting for the context, let's assume that the performance is not good and they want to force more spend into shopping, for example.
Then I'd start with, I mean, so that's, I think, so actually Slobodan answered that part for me. I'd look at the feed and see where I can optimize that. So assuming I want to force more spend towards shopping, then that's one thing. If you optimize your titles and your pictures, so those are the two most important attributes. Then see if that forces more spend towards that part. So my experience actually says that if you change out an asset, or if you change a video, or you do something with the feed, then Google will pick up on that, and then they'll throw spend there to see if that does anything. So that's like a sort of semi good way of testing things inside of PMAX.
Yeah, exactly. I think very much the same. I also think if it's not generating results in search, then maybe just go with feed only. I know there's been so much rumor about feed only is going away for the 17th time, but we run a lot. We run mostly standard shopping, but if we run PMAX, it's a lot of feed only and it still works fine. So I think that's one thing. Second thing I would say is it brand search or generic search? As if
Yeah.
it's brand search, easy, just exclude it. I mean, if you want to, of course.
Mm.
But it's weird. Most PMAXs I know, and Mike Ryan also showed this in his data in a recent presentation, a lot of spend goes to shopping. So then the question becomes, why is PMAX not showing your shopping? Are you a lot more expensive? Is it just your target's not feasible? I would, as Boris mentioned, I would look at your feed and like what's happening there first.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, so if you have the Mike Road script, I have this on many accounts. Then you usually see in the beginning, like it goes all over the place. It pushes spend to video, it pushes spend to search, right? And then eventually, after a couple of weeks, like all that wasted spend presumably will go down, and then like your shopping and some search portion will always be there, but mostly most of the spend usually will go to shopping for sure.
Yeah, that I see that a lot, especially with multi-brand stores where you have like the natural search volume of the products that you're selling. Yeah, cool. Oh, he followed up with, it is generating good results on search, but I would also like to try to spend more on shopping. Instead of running a feed only and also running standard shopping. But so then it's not really overspending on search, I guess.
I wouldn't question it so much. Like if the results are good, then yeah, why touch it? Like if it by the sounds of it, if it performs well, I wouldn't really want to touch it.
Mhm.
Rest assured, there's going to be a time where out of nowhere the whole thing tanks anyway, so you're going to have to look under the hood. But
Yep.
just enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's, I mean, if you really want to spend more on shopping, I would launch a campaign alongside it, like a standard shopping or maybe a feed only, and then just start pushing spend there. But if it's currently generating good results on search, then yeah, maybe just, I mean, I wouldn't touch it, just as Boris said.
Michael, what's your philosophy right now for running standard shopping alongside PMAX? So do you run the same products? I know you experimented with like a standard shopping in very high bits, so then PMAX can scoop up that same product and convert it, or do
Yeah.
you sort of segment that out right now?
Yeah, good question. So we have run quite a bit of experiments. It feels like it doesn't really work for us anymore, and so we don't run it like that anymore. Let me explain why. I feel like if Google, I think I am a fan of smart bidding. I mean, it has its flaws, and we know it's there to buff up Google's bottom line, but in the end, it serves us fine. Like it bids more for people that will convert, and it bids less for people that it deems less likely to convert. And the prediction model is pretty accurate. So if I'm bidding, let's say, €4 on a product, if that person is likely to convert within my target rows, then smart bidding will go over it. If it is less likely to convert, then I'm overpaying potentially for a click.
Anyway, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we used to run it for a while, but we found that it didn't serve us anymore, or didn't serve us as we thought it should serve us.
Mhm.
So I now run either standard chopping or performance max. Sorry, so I have accounts where I run both, but it's segmented.
Okay.
Yeah,
That,
it's segmented.
that makes sense, actually.
And what we've actually also found is this is actually something that we just discussed today, this morning, which I thought was interesting to share just right now. We have a account where we run standard shopping and PMAX for different product categories, just because of how we inherited the account. Now, when we inherited the account, the PMAX was relatively new, and the volume is not crazy on the account. I'll just mention that first. Like, let's say 30-ish conversions per month on one PMAX campaign. So per campaign, we do get the necessary volume for a campaign, but it's not the most volume you've ever seen. And so if we run standard shopping, we get visibility on the top search queries that we need fairly quickly. Like you will see it the next day. Performance Max, we got results, but it wasn't where we were adjusting the feed and trying to, and like stuffing it with keywords, like the keywords we want, and didn't really get us much more visibility. Performance was stable. And now we see after a couple of months, without the competitor, so there's one main competitor. Without the main competitor losing on impression share, we are now getting a lot more like top positions in shopping.
Yeah.
So I think again, like a signal that like PMAX is this very, very large ship that could be effective but slow, like very, very slow to steer. Whereas standard shopping gives you that adaptability.
So PMX is that giant vessel that's gonna ram the bridge in Baltimore and take it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's my experience with. If you get it to work, it can work really well, but you need to get it to work, and you need like a very stable environment.
For sure. So it reacts very erratically to changes you make. And also sometimes you won't make any changes and it'll do something completely different anyway. And it's, very often it's hard to troubleshoot or to pinpoint exactly what's going on inside of there. And yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah. For example, with seasonal products, very, very clear. Like PMAX takes 2 months to learn
Yeah.
what products it likes, then goes hard after them, and then the season ends, and then you're trying, no, but stop going after these products. Yeah, but I really like these, and then you turn off the listing group, and then it's like, oh, now I have to start all over again.
Yeah. What's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Not as good to pivot as others. Matt says, I'm finding if any products in your feed have names that are quite closely related, standard shopping works best. I can make sure all sizes of the product show up for the relevant search and the irrelevant ones don't show. We have products that have names like 122 or 110, and it will show the wrong one on PMAX quite frequently. That's interesting. What do you make of that?
Well, my first question is what are the products? I mean, it's obviously something where people are searching for the numbers and stuff. So it's something like someone knows exactly what they want. So in this instance, you wouldn't want the 110 to show when you're actually looking for the 220. That's not very good. I'm not sure if I can say that I've seen the same thing. or if there's a difference between standard shopping or performance max. So in my experience, it's always more about how price competitive you are. Like that's the most important aspect to consider, whether or not something will either like show in the auction or get clicks and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's an interesting observation for sure. I just can't say that I've seen the same thing.
Yeah, that is an interesting observation. And it's so true what you say about price competitiveness. Like it's it's actually an interesting anecdote from. So I work with a multi brand store, and one of their suppliers started like their own e-commerce campaigns on Google Shopping, and so we were looking like how it would impact us because the product is one to one, like it's GTIN and everything. But our client runs a small discount on the price, whereas at the official store, you buy it at the official price. And now that's also something that I like think brands need to like decide on what they want to do there.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing was their product, so the brand's official website showed up like after our placements all the time.
Mhm.
And so you can talk about like image optimization, title optimization, description. But in the end, like price is going to determine price, and then account maturity probably in settings is going to determine your ranking if you are competing on the same product. Because there's no way that the official brand where the brand name is mentioned like 5,000 times on their website should be after our product listing.
I agree. I mean, that's the way it's worked for pretty much ever, right? If you think of it, Google Shopping is a price comparison tool. And
Yep.
why would it work any differently than, for instance, Amazon? Like if I go to Amazon and I know what I want, then I just go on there and I sort like the search results by price. And if I'm being so inclined, then I'll look at the reviews and see if it's really, if it keeps up on the promise. But yeah, usually I'll go by price for sure. For sure. That's where the clicks go. I mean, we don't have money to burn, neither have our clients. So it only makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And I think it's very much the same. And yeah, if you see 8 times the same product in a row, yeah, of course you're gonna compare like, okay, who sells it at a cheaper price?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I see that Javal and Harrison joined. Hey Harrison, how's it going? So what was your bonkers question from earlier? So now I'm actually pretty interested.
What's the best way to club a baby seal? So
Why?
for everyone who doesn't really know me, like it's Friday in the afternoon, and this is the last thing I usually do before I head off into the weekend. And by now, I've probably worked like this week. I've worked close to 60 hours already, so I'm just done. Sorry about that.
Why were you having some baby seal problems at home or
No, I just think they're delicious.
I gotta love it. Oh, we just lost 7 participants. No, that's not true.
Would that be all of them, right?
No. So, guys, if you have any other question, feel free to let us know in the chat.
But there's actually one from Passos again. So it's a follow-up question to the PMX one, or not a follow-up, but it's related to PMX as well. Would you
Mhm.
adding only the top products in one PMX campaign and a catch-all standard shopping?
Catch-all standard shopping? No, because the way I used to run catch-all standard shopping doesn't work anymore. Like I used to run it on eCPC, set the bid to 1 cent, and then only get a bid if there's really like an odd of conversion, and otherwise you just bid 1 cent and the budget never runs out. That's how I used to run it. So that doesn't work anymore because eCPC was phased out for standard shopping. I also don't see the benefit of it. Like, what's it comes back to what I said earlier. Like, okay, now you're manually bidding because you think that Google misses out on something, which is, it's possible. I'm not saying that the smart bidding algorithm is perfect, not far from, but I don't necessarily see the added value. I think if I have more budget, I'll just add it to my main campaign.
Yep. So I think this comes down to sort of philosophy, right? So there's like these two camps, right? There's one advertiser who just focuses his budget on the top performers. So that be like the 10-20% of your products that drive all the traffic and revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the ones who just want to run ads for everything for whatever reason. And you know what? When you're doing that, you're always running the risk of spreading yourself way too thin, so you're actually not seeing results with your top sellers. So I was put on the spot. I'd say just take your top performers, put them in a PMAX, and see if you can maximize that. That's not to say that people coming on your website or through organic listings or organic search aren't gonna convert on and buy those products. Not at all. But you have to sort of be a bit more strategic about the whole thing and not like, I mean, running ads or running the whole feed always feels like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can start out that way, but there's no real benefit to just keep pushing that. Yeah. Tazo says you can try a low T ROAS target to get the same effect as eCPC. I actually think I think Tazo's not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but I actually think that's not correct. So low T ROAS will maximize for a high CPC. So I mean, you have to think like Google is trying to find clicks or people that it can get let's say you're putting in 100% T ROAS, like break even, right? So now it's going to just look for people that it can break even on. And so the CPC will actually be higher and you'll be bidding for more, not for less. So that's not really the same as with a catch-all campaign. So I don't think we use low T ROAS strategies, but that's never for a like extra additional campaign. Question from Tiffany. A bit of a swap in direction, but I'm having some issues with cookie tracking. I have one client on Cookiebot. Tags are set up to only track when someone accepts, and the tags don't trigger until someone accepts. But under cookies in the application, when you inspect cookies come true. I've contacted Cookiebot, but they said I need to set up automatic cookie blocking, and the way they have given is long-winded. Long-winded. Was just wondering if you have seen this issue.
So this is Cookiebot CMP.
Mm-hmm.
I've not seen this. Usually it's pretty straightforward. I've set it up many times, and the only thing that you have to do is to set up the variable. I'm not quite sure how it's called, but that is actually examining whether or not someone has accepted cookies and which cookies have been accepted, and then it should be working. I've not seen the thing that cookies still come through when you don't accept cookies. But I can look into this with you if you want to, Tiffany. That's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think it's probably just a quick setting thing. Tiffany, maybe just some context. Is it about the consent, or like is Cookiebot saying that the consent is standard there even before the tags get loaded in, or is it about the tags, the triggers really that are fired on your page view events or whatever that you see coming through, or whatever other events? Yeah, that's an interesting one. Nick says, "Are you sure you're deleting them after testing?"
A good point.
Good point. Yeah, exactly. 100%. In the meanwhile, while we're waiting for some context, I have a good question for you that I'm actually struggling with myself. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Wait, first follow-up from Tiffany, so cliffhanger. It's weird, the tags are not triggering, but it comes true when on inspect. I have deleted the cookies.
I'm like, huh?
Yeah, that's interesting. The tags are not triggering, but it comes true when on inspect. I don't immediately have an answer. Be more than happy, just same as Boris just mentioned, to have a quick look at it.
20 hours.
I've spent 20 hours and can't figure it out. Why? The only thing I can think of is that for example, are we sure that there's not like two separate, like, for example, there's a setup through Tag Manager and then a separate analytics code in the website configured or something like that, where you configured it properly in Tag Manager, but then the analytics just gets loaded in. But that's the only thing I can think of right now. More than happy to have a look at it, but she checked the websites and removed all the codes. So yeah, then not without having a closer look, I'm not sure. I don't have an idea right now. To be fair, it's not my strong suit, cookies and stuff.
It's not my strong suit either, but I just got forced over the last couple of months to just really, I did several implementations with Cookiebot. I did some with Bohr Labs, just like a German supplier. So yeah, just had to do it, even if it
Yeah.
did.
No, no, true. She says any help would be appreciated. I'm usually quite good on GPM, but this has stumped me. Yeah. I mean, I think Boris is probably actually a bit better at it than I am, but I mean, feel free to, you can always send me a DM on LinkedIn and I'm happy to just also like, or we can just have how do you say, like just look at it with the three of us, like six eyes are better than four. Cool. So my question for you, Boris, was for multi-brand stores. So we're selling Nikes and Adidas sneakers and stuff. How do you tackle remarketing? Because, and let me just give some context. I don't really believe in like, okay, so somebody goes to a Nike shoe. I don't really believe in just putting that Nike shoe in front of them again and again and again. Like they know they want to buy it. That's why they're on my website. So then how do you tackle remarketing to give yourself an edge over competitors? Let's say everybody has the same price. So we're just going to remove the price argument. So everybody has the exact same price. How do we steer more consumers in our direction, given the context I just mentioned?
So the first thing that comes to mind is like an abandoned cart email flow or something.
Mm-hmm. That's a
That,
good one. Yep.
that's what I would do actually. And then, when you mention you don't want to like do the dynamic remarketing and then just spray them with the ad until they're ready to buy. I mean, you can always do like impression capping or something.
No, but the thing that I want to avoid is like we know for yeah, it's for a different product, but let's just keep it with the shoes. Um, we know that clients take a while to research or to just look around before they buy. So if you're going to go like with dynamic remarketing, I don't know a lot of people that click on like it's good for impressions, but I don't know a lot of people that intentionally click on them. So then now you're just reminding them like, hey, you want to buy this, you want to buy this, you want to buy this. And then people say, oh yeah, right, I do want to buy that. And then they might go back to Google, type in the shoe, and then you have to be there again. So the question is, what kind of or what I'm really wondering, like what I have no answer is like, what messaging can we put in front of people that is like steering them towards our multi-brand store versus just another website?
It's an interesting question. It's not a question that I have an answer for, like on the top from the top of my head. I mean, thing is that like a shoe or whatever product, it's most likely it's just a commodity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's if it's not like one of those Kanye sneakers that sets you back like 5K or something, then it's a collectible. But it's not that. So in that case, I don't know like what else can be the argument, because the number one argument, if you've settled on a shoe, then the argument is the price for sure. So I don't think we can leave that out of the equation. And then the other argument would be like what sets your store apart from all the others that sell the exact same shoe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Like, so I mean that's sort of impossible, or at least very hard to answer, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's a really hard question. That's why we're struggling with it internally as well. You're 100% right. Can't leave price out of the equation, of course. I would say, yeah, I'm just thinking about because there's one really good example in Belgium. It's a multi-brand store. It's called Coolblue,
Yeah.
and they sell electronics. And so then there's another brand that's called another store, I should say, that's called MediaMarkt, and they are the cheapest. They guarantee you the cheapest price, and still, like Coolblue does a lot better. Like people shop there a lot more, but they are more expensive, which is an interesting thought. And so I'm thinking like, okay, is it pure like top of funnel brand awareness that people don't go compare the price anymore, or like it's an interesting one.
It's probably that. I mean, it differs from country to country, really. Like I know for instance, one sec. You're like that BBC guy who had his kids. It must have been like what, like 8, 9 years ago now. Anyway, what I was going to say is like it just so differs between countries, right? So in France, people are very brand conscious. So I've tried to break into France, for instance, with a couple of my clients, and it was always a struggle because if they've never heard of you, they're not gonna buy. They're gonna click and check you out, and then they're gonna leave and buy with the brand that they've known for forever.
Hmm.
And in Italy, so this might be a generalization, but in Italy, they're very price sensitive. There's other countries, I mean, like Sweden, like quality needs to be super high and stuff like that. They don't necessarily care for price and stuff like that. So that might all play into the equation here. And I'm guessing like the Cool Blue thing is like a Belgian store. I think
Benelux, I think, yeah.
some MediaMarkt is a German company that's also trying to strengthen their position in Belgium. So that might be the thing. So they're probably
Could be.
better known or something. See, it's not
Yeah.
it's not always about like the budget you have and your prices and stuff like that. Sometimes it can be as simple as, I've known these guys forever. That's why I'll never buy anywhere else.
Yeah. One super interesting, and then there's a couple of messages that came in, so I'll get back to that right away. But one super interesting thing I saw, it was oh, Anu's here. Just let her in. One super interesting thing I saw was a presentation from SendCloud. And so they did a study on e-commerce stores all over Europe, and they measured the sensitivity for what kind of carrier you provide on your website. And so, for example, people in France were really, really sensitive that you can have the best price, but if you don't have like a carrier they trust, like La Poste, for example, they will not, or a lot of people won't shop with you. Like they want a carrier that they trust.
The payment methods.
And payment methods, yeah, same thing.
Yeah, that's true. There's also a remark in the chat. People love Coolblue because of their brand and great customer service.
Yeah, yeah, that's the point. Interesting. Yeah, I'll give it another thought because I was actually thinking of filming like a bunch of founder backstory videos and then just remarketing with that, build some trust with the company.
Probably, yeah.
Harrison asks, do you all like to do image testing in the shopping feed? Lifestyle versus product image? Color background versus black and white? Is CTR your main KPI that you would track in that type of test?
So first of all, I don't think there's a different attribute in the shopping feed, which is escaping me right now, but maybe you can help me out. One is the image and the other is an alternative image or something.
Yeah. I don't know what the exact name of it is, but
That's absolutely a test that you can make. And I think I read a discussion somewhere about exactly that the other day. Like the consensus was that lifestyle images, on second thought, I don't think I read that. So bottom line, yes, I like to do image testing, and it's usually better in my experience if you have lifestyle images. So that's people actually using the product or the product in a nice environment and stuff like that, instead of just the product and before a white backdrop or something. Uh,
mhm.
but on the other side, you also need to make sure that not everyone is using the same images. We've all seen like the shopping section of a search of a SERP, right? Like 5 products with the same images, supplied by the producer. Basically, that's not good as well. So yes, you should absolutely do image testing. Like I said, it's the other important attribute, apart from title. But make sure you set yourself apart enough. So if everyone else is using the same lifestyle image, then you just use the plain product image. That's probably going to serve you better.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something about the experiment because he also asked about is CTR your main KPI? But yeah, I think um, it's also about how can you stand out in the feed. For example, like if you do something fashion related, like the first person that put a model in their clothes in the feed probably got a lot of like more clicks just because it attracts, like you see all these t-shirts and then you see one with a model wearing it. But then now everybody's doing it. So maybe there's something to say maybe now for like, okay, maybe test it without a model in like just the pure product image. Like I think it's always a case of how can you stand out more in the feed and what can you do about it. And maybe that is a background thing. Maybe it's a lifestyle background instead of a just white photo shoot background. And about the experiments, I'm actually going to say something that's, I think, really an unpopular opinion, but I'm not sure. Maybe if you say no, I think it too, then it's just debunked.
Counts more than yours. I don't know.
I don't believe in the split test capability on Google Ads, and let me tell you why. So Google tries to use, or at least any split test tries to use a scientific method to then change one variable and then see if it makes a difference, the variable with a certain degree of certainty. Now, but this is not just multivariate analysis like with Google Ads. Like there are a gazillion factors. What type of people are searching? What device? What time of day? Have they seen your brand before? Have they bought from you before? What time of the month is it? What time of the year is it? Is it raining today? And like we also know that people need multiple touch points before making a purchase decision, and it's becoming more and more right now. So there's there's so incredibly much data that is involved. Google, of course, then says that okay, if you have large enough numbers, then it's just a mass on one side and a mass on the other side. But on the other hand, we also know that people make multiple clicks. So maybe people are in both groups. Maybe one group saw a Facebook ad or more of yours, and the other group got one more email. Like there's so much to do there. I believe, to be fair, much more in like logical reasoning. Like I think this will improve my performance based on this reason, and then testing it by just making the change, then really doing like the A/B split test. And maybe if you are trying to improve CTR, yes, that's still a thing. But if you're trying to improve conversions or ROAS, I'm not too sure about it.
So yeah, I mean that's it. It makes sense. It actually makes sense what you're saying. So you're saying it's a matter of Google is like if you set up an experiment inside of Google Ads, Google is looking at the one or two metrics that you set and that you want to improve, right? But there's so many outside factors. So weather, demographic, whatever may have led to an increase or decrease in a certain metric or KPI, right? But then, I mean, by that reasoning, effectively, like all A/B testing is just moot, right?
Online A/B testing, yes, 100%. That is what I think.
And I think that's sort of a bit of a radical opinion.
It is. That's why I said I think it's not going to be very popular. But I do believe that.
Okay. I mean, there's front-end metrics that you obviously can measure inside of Google Ads. Sure, at the end of the day, with a test, we're trying to move the needle, towards higher revenue, higher profit, higher whatever we're trying to achieve.
Mhm.
That's also absolutely something that we can measure in our backend. But then, as you rightfully said, there's other channels that are involved. There's, outside influences like, how's the economy doing? Like, is there a war inside of Europe? Have prices skyrocketed? What's with inflation? Even if inflation is now going back again, like that doesn't mean like people have more disposable or discretionary, have more money for discretionary spend, all that sort of things. But I still think I absolutely think you should be doing A/B testing. And even if you don't trust the numbers inside of Google, you can build your own statistical models. I mean, that's not rocket science. But
No, true. True, but let me put it more like this, because maybe I want to maybe give some context. Like what you mentioned about front end metrics, yes, there's 100% like for example, like with Harrison's question, there is CTR, right? You can do a very proper split test on CTR if that's your KPI. But then what the effect of that is in the bigger picture, that gets kind of blurry, I think. So Harrison, to give you a very long answer to your question, I would look at CTR, but I would try to look at the overall impact, which then becomes very difficult from a split test, I think. So that's where I would look at CTR. If CTR improves, push through the change and then see how your performance just goes along as you have made the change.
Mm.
That's how I would look at it. I would not run a split test. I personally don't run a split test on like conversion improvement unless I'm very aware that it's one-click conversion.
Yeah. By the way, while we're at it, the other day I was watching a webinar by Mike Ryan, and that's something I just remembered. He was showing this neat little chart where he plotted like various metrics against each other.
Okay.
And like showed all the correlations between. So if you improve CTR, then there's a slight positive correlation with whatever conversion rate.
Okay, got it.
Sadly, the name for this chart was it I don't know. That escaped me, but I'll send it to you later. But you could do something like that if you have a large enough data set. Then you could plot all those KPIs against each other, and you could say, right, if my shopping CTR improves, and then there's this very positive correlation with revenue, for instance. Like I'm just pulling something out of air, right? But I mean that'd be a parallelogram. Yeah, thanks, Harrison. Exactly. So that'd be another way of analyzing this sort of stuff if you don't want to trust Google's built-in capability.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think, yeah, the presentation, I didn't catch it yet. I was there for like 10 minutes, but had a very busy day. It was this week, right? On the Wednesday one?
I just received the email for the replay. I can forward it to you.
Oh, that would be awesome. So no, yeah, I think it was really interesting, and of course, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to look at it that way. And that's just I think it's more of a from an like growth or agency perspective as well. I guess it's like, for example, doing like a split test on like one sort of image, for example, or one product image in an account. How much will that push the needle versus me testing it out and then just like going off of experience or gut feeling is not really the right word, but more like logical conclusion, like, okay, look, this is not doing so well, let's see how we can improve it. So, but as I said, people, don't stop doing your split tests right now just because I said I'm not the biggest fan. Yeah, what are the questions we have?
That's good.
Yeah, it was a good one, really.
Okay. Should we call it a day? Like I said, I've been working like a dog this week, so
yeah, let's do it.
Sunny in southern Germany today, so yeah.
Then I would say go enjoy it. For everyone that was here, thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder that if you would like to get a calendar invite for this event, send me your email and I will add you to the event. If you want to join our Slack group, it's not really an active Slack group, as we always mention, but it's more like for reminders or if you want to see the replay. Yeah, feel free to send me a DM and I'll add you to the Slack.
All right. Have a great weekend, guys.
Perfect. Boris, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, guys.